hats and button shoes, erotic intense midnight cruise, whirling gay society in 1903. Sigmund Freud's Vienna's hype identifies the homotype, the intermediate sex, and heterodoxy. The gay wave moves across the sea, hello them is liberty. Betty Boop is hot and mooches out in the cold. Greenwich Village, Bloomsbury, gays in high society. Harlem night, Chicago fights, Leopold and Lowell. Pride, gotta have pride. Better run too long to keep it inside. Pride, can't sit back and watch from the side. Pride is power and power is pride. It's time to celebrate all the colors of the rainbow. Get out into the streets, follow the tide.
Hi, I'm Brian McNaught, and this is Stonewall Portraits, Profiles, and Pride. And today we have the Hat Sisters.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Tim O'Connor and John Michael Gray are the Hat Sisters. And incidentally, as you may know, this program celebrates the contributions that lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people have made to our community. Mm-hmm. And you men, ladies, have been contributing full-time for 27 years. It was 1984, was it not, the first time that you dressed up for Carnival?
Right, and it's actually our 28th year as the Hat Sisters.
28 years as the Hat Sisters.
Yep,
First of all, on behalf of not only everyone watching, but everyone who's been touched by your whimsy, thank you for the joy that you bring to our lives.
Well, thank you.
So let's talk. Tim and John Michael. When did you come together as partners?
July 18th, 1984.
1984. Oh, so when you invited him to come and join you in Carnival with a hat...
We'd only been together a month.
You'd only been together a month?
Yep.
And you just...
Less than a month.
And you just plunged in and said yes?
Well, yeah. You know, he invited me down. He was down here for the month of August. Invited me down for Carnival. Explained that there were various parties that were going on, and there were costume parties, and I said, okay. And because a lot of people want to know how it all began, and we've gone back and forth, and I guess the easiest explanation is, if you want to do it, whatever you'll wear, I'll wear.
That was the response you got?
Yeah.
But you were the inspiration, were you, for this in the beginning, and then it became a mutual thing?
Actually, I was the creator of the first few outfits.
First few outfits.
On my own.
And then you dressed him up.
Yeah.
And you know, you'd look in the mirror and he'd be finished with you and off you would go.
Well, there really wasn't much of an outfit back then. Again, that was 28 years ago, much younger and much thinner.
Yeah.
So, a Speedo, a hat with a cape of some sort, and flip-flops. And
so you dressed in bathing suits at the time for parties and a hat.
Basically.
Yeah.
And a cape.
Can you tell me, can we back up just a little bit? Where are you from, John Michael?
Originally from Amherst, New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. And family, large, small?
One brother, one sister.
All right. And are your brothers and sister, are they hat aficionados and enthusiasts?
No.
They're not. No. Are you not close to them? Or?
Well, my brother's passed away.
Okay, I'm sorry.
My sister actually is a florist.
Okay.
And sort of art designer. So she designs as well.
But not hats. But does she like the Hat Sisters?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Folks alive or dead?
Big supporter. No, parents passed away many years ago.
Okay. And how about you, Tim? Where are you from?
Actually, I was born in a little village called Huckins, Wisconsin, up in the boonies of Wisconsin.
Okay.
Where my dad was from, but my mother was from Taunton, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And when they first got married, that's where they lived for the first 15 years of their lives, and then we moved in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I went to Marquette, so I was in Milwaukee.
There we go.
Yeah.
This is way up.
Yeah, okay. So you're up towards the, so sort of the Iron Mountain area?
Oh, God. I was 7, so
Okay,
it's not that.
all right. Doesn't matter.
I was fairly young when we left.
How did you two meet?
I was the guest that came to dinner.
Through mutual friends.
Through mutual friends brought you. I think that's a great way for people to meet.
That's the old-fashioned way.
Well, and it's nice. Single people say, how do I meet? And I say, have your friends invite somebody for dinner instead of having to go to a bar. It's a great way to meet.
It is.
And you laugh at the table, play Mexican Train or something fun. Okay, so 1984, you decide to do the hat. And are you immediately called the Hat Sisters at that time? When did that name come into being?
Actually, it was a combination of things. Actually, Carol O'Shaughnessy, who was a cabaret singer who used to perform down here on a regular basis, we were friends with hers, and we used to go see her show on a regular basis. And she played at the corner of, what is it, Ryder and Bradford.
Ryder and Bradford.
And on the second
Where the
floor.
dentist office is now.
Yes.
And she performed on the second floor. And there was an exterior staircase that went up behind a big picture window, which she backed up to. And so people would see our hats and start, giggling or whatever. And she goes, "Oh, here come the Hat Queens." So we were the Hat Queens first.
How long did that last?
Not that long, because I really prefer Queens.
Yeah.
But then at the time, there were two gentlemen that did a similar thing. They were called the Linguini Sisters.
Linguini Sisters.
What did they do?
They actually were New York designers who came to Provincetown every summer and would also dress identically. And actually, many times they had a third. And they just sort of...
Kind of liberated
Yeah,
couple.
they'd be in Carnival.
Linguini's
or-
and the Little Meatball.
And then there was a little... There used to be a little restaurant
At Loeb Square.
at Loeb Square that sort of sponsored them.
Huh.
So as time went on, somebody said, "Well, why don't you be the Linguini Sisters?"
No,
The
Linguisa.
Linguisa Sisters.
You too?
Yeah, and we thought that was rude to
Yes.
follow the name so closely, but we thought, well, we'll just take the hat part and put it with the sister
So
part.
you two did that around 1980, what was that?
Well, really the next summer, like
Yeah, 85.
Oh, great.
Summer,
So the Hat
yeah.
Sisters have been named. Now, you never took on pet names. You've always been Tim and you've always been John Michael.
Yeah.
So no, Lorianne and...
No.
And that's very good. And have you always had facial hair as the
Yes.
Hat Sisters?
I always had facial.
Okay.
Every once in a while, he shaves his off just to...
Just
Oh,
to
you do?
terrorize me.
Just
Yeah.
yeah. There's a great affection between you two. As I was watching you dress, prior to getting ready for this, you were very carefully watching how he was doing. Was any trouble getting in? I mean, that's very sweet. Is this your relationship is going on? Do you still identify as a couple?
Oh, definitely.
Okay,
Oh,
so there's
definitely.
that definitely says there's no even question about that.
No.
You two are life partners.
We are.
Okay.
We've been married since 2004. We got married on our 20th anniversary.
And 2004
In Boston.
In Boston.
Yep. And then we had a celebration here at the boat slip.
And who was at the wedding in Boston?
Mayor Menino.
Mayor Menino.
And his wife.
You're friends with Mayor Thomas Menino.
We hope he feels the same
Well,
way. We consider
every
him
time
very good friends.
every time you see him, he lights up. Now, did he marry you?
No.
Okay.
Well, we asked.
He actually
And-
made a rule early on that he had so many, he's such a supporter of the gay and lesbian community, that he said that if he started with one couple, then he'd have to go on and go on.
Yeah. But there's only one Hat
He'd spend
Sister.
all his time. So he said, please forgive me, but I will come to your wedding, I will toast you, but I will not marry you.
So who are your best buds? Who do you hang out with? Who was at the wedding that...
Well, actually, it's hard to identify exactly because a lot of people know us and we know a lot of people. We have a group of friends in Boston. We have a group of friends here. During the different times. But at our wedding ceremony was about 125 family and closest friends, and that went from 3 to 5. And then 5 o'clock we sent out a separate invitation. The first invitation was please join Tim and Michael in getting married. And the second invitation was please join the Hat Sisters, Tim and John Michael, in celebration of their marriage.
Okay.
And we had about 200 people for a buffet and dance party after that.
So did you wear hats to the wedding?
We actually as the party was in 3 stages, we dressed in 3 stages.
Oh, you had 3. Okay, tell
So
us.
we actually got married in
You're like Kim
Hawaiian.
Kardashian.
We got married in Hawaiian shirts and linen slacks and sandals.
As
as
the guys.
As the guys.
Yeah.
And we wore
John Michael.
Hawaiian leis that my sister made for us, and we made flower leis for our sisters, and his mother was still alive.
Oh, wow.
And that group actually was sort of broke down into different groups from our lives. Some were work friends, some were social friends, some were work friends from another work, from my work in Newton.
What's your work in Newton? What's your work?
I'm retired now. I was the coordinator of fine arts for the Newton Public Schools.
Oh, coordinator of fine arts for the Newton Public Schools. Wow. So that meant that all artistic endeavors in Newton you were in charge
I
of
was
for
in
the
charge,
schools.
yeah.
Wow.
21 schools, 174 teachers.
And a lot of budget fights, I bet, to keep. They were pretty generous with you.
They were pretty generous in my day.
And how about you, Tim?
Well, my background is engineering and architecture, but I gave that up about 20 years ago when the recession hit. And that John Michael at the time was director of a nonprofit, which we still have.
And
we
the
now run-
nonprofit, let's talk about
The
that.
nonprofit is, it's called the New England Art Education Conference.
The New England Art Education Conference, and its purpose?
And originally it was to, well, actually, you started it, so you probably explain that.
The original organization was to offer in-service activities for art teachers in New England, the 6 New England states.
Okay.
It was a combination of individuals from all 6 states that got together to plan biannual conferences.
Okay.
And then as the years went on, members died off and things changed, but we kept the group going. And we, along with sort of a core group of 10 other individuals, ran them from 1975 up to 2005.
But aren't you also involved in a program for kids?
Well, yeah, we run a program called the Boston Globe Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, which is an visual art and writing competition for students in Massachusetts in grades 7 through 12. That's open to all students, public, private, religious, home schools. But it's part of a national group called the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards based out of New York City.
How did you go from being guys in Speedos, wearing hats at parties in '84, to being invited to be present and host and MC events for the Heart Fund and the opera? These particular hats you designed are from an opera?
Yeah, well, you had asked us about old hats, and basically all of our hats come apart.
All of them come apart.
Except
And
for-
underneath, is it true that underneath it's a like a helmet?
This one's like a helmet, the
Like
big one.
It's a construction
A
hard hat.
construction hard, oh, so you're hard hat guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they just, just threw on some flowers for
Make it look
distinction.
But these hats are actually glued together completely, so they actually remain because we couldn't tear them apart.
These,
Most of the ones we tear apart, they're made of foam and fluff, and we can tear the pieces apart and reuse them
and
later.
reuse them.
But these got stuck on the shelf, and a significance of these hats is that you're right, we did sort of start off here in Provincetown, moved back to Boston into the AIDS-related and health-related issues. And then from AIDS generally moved into general health and started to appear. And then we began to be asked to make appearances at sort of more mainstream public events, such as the Boston Lyric Opera Company, which these hats were made for, American Heart Association, American Lung Association.
How did that feel?
Wang Center.
So suddenly you're running with bigger dogs, right? How did that, when you write, so how did you talk about that at home? Can you believe now the Hat Sisters are being, highlighted at the Heart Association? That had to be
It was
a little
overwhelming.
startling
It's
when
startling,
you
but-
reflect on it, right?
And very complimentary.
Yes.
I mean, to be invited and to be requested that we come in costume. And it's it's fun. It was unexpected, but we've been invited to some phenomenal parties and met some phenomenal people through the thing.
What's the most exciting experience that you've had as Hat Sisters?
It's exciting.
That that if, let's say, I was writing your life story, or heaven forbid, your obit, how do I start? Well, everyone's going to have an obit, and yours is going to be bigger than mine, so you'll at least have a bigger picture. Right?
Just because of height.
Yeah, well, I want to find out, is there a hat that you'd prefer to be pictured in? What's your favorite hat of all time?
Actually, I think the most fun was when we did the March on Washington years ago.
Yeah.
And we didn't make any of we had all the fixings, if you want to call it that, for the hats. We loaded up in the car, and we made hats in our room at the DC Hilton, or down in the garage.
So you're sitting on the floor in your hotel room with stuff
Right.
all over, and you're putting it together?
Gluing and screwing hats together for each different event.
Gluing, so you bring us a
glue
hot
gun.
hot glue gun and
Drills and screws.
drills and screws too.
Whenever we did.
We do it all.
Yeah, you guys do it all.
But the one hat we
is
did
that
was-
is that the favorite? The,
No, well, it was
the Washington
It was
Monument?
the Washington Monument.
That was like a
exactly.
conglomerate experience. That was like a series of 8 parties to be put together. Then there have been other times when we've had, well, within the gay community, when the Saint was in business in New York, we attended a lot of their parties. One particular party that we talked about as a memorable one was on Fire Island.
The morning party.
A morning party. And we made, Alfred Fiandaco, a dress designer in Boston, made huge new gowns for us, which were white with a big fishtail skirt behind and huge beaded tops. And I made huge beaded hats with headdresses and veils to go with them. We had gold umbrellas, and they said, the party's going to be at this part of Fire Island. We went off to the party. What they didn't tell us was that the party was about 100 feet below where we'd arrive. And there was this very long staircase that went down to the beach, where they covered the beach with plywood for dancing. So we arrived at the top of the stairs, and because we were in such beads and gold, everything glimmered and shone.
Oh, wow.
So about 6,000 people who were on the beach looked up and
We're
saw
watching
us.
this vision of coming
And then-
down the
and then
stairs.
just stopped us, and we descended into the party.
And then applauded wildly.
Applauded wildly.
That had to have been a really fun.
That was a real fun.
That was
fun
overwhelming.
memory.
And then we got to
Yeah.
the bottom, and a very handsome big man came over with a Madonna headset, and he said, together, he said, well, I'm security. And we said, well, did we do something wrong? And he said, no, I'm security. And we said, well, yeah. And he said, I'm your security.
Yeah.
And it was like, you're our security. And he
Wow.
said, yeah, I'm supposed to protect you.
Well, being protected on Fire Island is probably silly, but have you in your lives putting yourself out there all the time? You're out on the street. You're not just going into little auditoriums
No.
or big auditoriums. You're on the street at gay pride marches, AIDS events, whatever. Have you? What is the worst thing that has happened to one or the other of you? Or
Actually,
both?
there's only one negative thing that happened. and
Only
that's-
one negative thing
and
in
it was only to
27
me.
years.
It was only to me.
Well, I mean, we've had an occasional name calling or whatever, and we just, even here on the streets of Provincetown, but we just choose to ignore it.
And what is the name calling, even in Provincetown?
No, just, hey, queer or whatever. And
In Provincetown, isn't that startling? Yeah. So you just ignore it.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah,
don't
just-
pay no
just-
attention
no
to it.
attention.
Not at all.
So
Not worth it.
what is your greatest joy as Hat Sisters? I mean, what is it that you feel most personally proud of in its work? It started off as a party, right, and fun, but it's now you're now bigger than yourselves. Wouldn't you agree that what was started is just a fun thing? The Hat Sisters are an institution now that, and you step on the street and people applaud immediately, or they laugh, or there's joy with. So, what is your legacy?
That we are still doing it. We live together. It's 24/7. We work together. Like we were saying earlier, John Michael's retired from the 9-to-5 job, but we run this art program together.
Right.
And we're together constantly, and to live together constantly, and then do the outfits and the Hat Sister stuff. And I'm very proud that we're still together and happy after 28 years.
So
together.
love seems to be the legacy here.
Well,
rather
yeah.
than Tim talking about some special accolade you got, he talked about the love relationship as the legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, being, if we be so bold, role models for others, that it is possible to stay together as a couple and be happy, and it is possible to contribute back to the community and give back. We're very happy that we make people happy. And on a given day, here on the streets of Provincetown, we'll have our picture taken 500 times. And that's 500 times that people are happy and come up to us and say, I keep your picture by my bedside table, and it makes me smile when I get out of bed every day.
Everybody I know who has an awareness of the Hat Sisters smile, it's like Hat Sisters smile, right? It's not like Hat Sisters.
Hopefully.
There might be a couple.
Well, you know what? Sometimes I smile with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. But
they're fabulous.
Yes, they're fabulous. But some people could get scared because they don't know quite what's going on. But you're in, and That's their issue. But you guys are just joy. Now,
Thank you.
some basic questions. How many hats have you made? I know these are basic questions you've heard of a zillion times. How many hats do you think you've made?
Well, it has to be in the thousands. I mean, after 28 years.
We think we make about 100 a year.
100 a year.
100 a year.
Wow. And how many of those are actually kept?
Few.
There's probably 10.
10. And you're donating these to
We're
the
donating
Stonewall
these to
National
the-
Museum
Yes,
and
we are.
Archive. Thank
Yes.
you very much. In Fort Lauderdale, our nation's Smithsonian. And so your hats are going to be on display there forever. And so when people come in 2 generations from now, they're going to say, what? What's that? And who are they? And then they're going to read your bio and think, how cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things is, what Michael was hinting on earlier is, like, we have been doing it for 28 years, and we still have the younger guys coming up and saying to us, you did frighten us. I didn't know what to make of you when I first went to tea dance when I was a kid.
Because
You know?
I was afraid of having any stereotypes creep anywhere
Exactly,
near me.
exactly. And they said, and now that they're matured and they're a few years older, it's, one of their fond memories is seeing the 2 of us. And
Because you
realizing it
allowed
was-
them to get past
okay.
the fear that a man can't, even though they didn't know that these are construction hats, and that you use drills, and hammer, they didn't know that. All they saw was the frill,
Right,
yeah.
and they didn't know what to make of it because they didn't want it to be them, and then they became able to embrace it.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
gift.
it is.
That's like being,
No, I don't know if it's a
the
gift, but
angel
it's-
that takes them over the line, right, to another part of themselves. I can identify with that. I think, when I was younger, if I had seen you, I would have thought, oh, no, please don't be on Donahue. Or Oprah, because my mother will see you.
Well, that was very valid, because back 28 years ago, the boat slip, you weren't allowed cameras on the deck because of people being outed.
People being terrified,
that-
even at the boat slip.
No, the boat slip was a boat slip policy.
That
you could
no
not take
photos.
no photos.
Right.
Inside, on
Yeah,
the deck.
on the deck. And
Right.
actually, the only person that could was Ron, who was Mr. Magic Moment. But he had like the Polaroid. He went around, but he wasn't taking candid shots. He was, I should say candid, but he wasn't just
You could only
taking
do
shots.
facial, direct
Right.
face.
Right. And there was no Facebook to put it
and
up
was,
on.
Yeah, exactly.
Or YouTube.
Yes.
Whatever.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now there is.
Yeah. So if I can, just for the record, favorite hat so far is the Washington Monument hat.
I think so.
Okay.
For
Plus
every
the
moment.
jewels, and one of the favorite moments is walking down the 140 stairs at Fire Island and being dazzling.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
we were bedazzled.
Yeah. In the days of AIDS, showing up at events, it was to lighten the mood.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to let people know, as tragic as this is,
You have to get a giggle out of
you
life.
have to get a giggle, and we're still here, and we're
Thank
going to
God.
stay around as long as we can.
Yeah.
What's the future look like?
Actually, I should tell you one of my favorite AIDS stories is when we were doing a benefit at the
That sounds
Boston.
odd.
What?
Favorite AIDS story.
No, I mean,
I know what
Yeah.
you're saying.
I have a favorite leprosy story.
an AIDS benefit story.
Yeah, an AIDS benefit.
Let's put it this way, an AIDS benefit story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
AIDS action benefit at the Opera House.
Uh-huh.
And we
Oh.
were dressed as angels with huge paper-mache wings that were attached to the hat.
Oh, wow.
They were
Yeah.
down to our ankles.
There was a photographer hired to specifically have pictures taken with us, Polaroids. And there was one guy who came over who was obviously very sick, and we took like 20 pictures with him. And he just said, "Can I have one more? Can I have one more?" And the photographer just kept taking them. And he said, "We have enough now?" He said, "I have enough." And he said, "Well, what are you going to do with all these pictures? Why did you want all these pictures?" He said, "I'm going to send them to all my family and all my doctors and tell them that I've met the angels and it's okay for me to die now."
Isn't
And-
that
and he-
sweet?
He did
Yeah.
pass away very soon after.
Which everyone did at that time.
That's the
very
story I was gonna
quickly.
say.
Yeah. Do you tear up in these experiences? I know you laugh a lot. You have an incredible laugh, and you love to make him
Oh,
laugh,
yeah.
don't you? And you do great poses. I mean, just do you work on your poses?
No, it's just a,
But so you have laughed. What's so beyond this story that just made you tear up? Have there been moments in your lives as the Hat Sisters that you just sort of squeeze each other's hand a little tighter, saying, "Wow,
well,
this
we've
is..."
lost a lot of friends and colleagues because we have been so out in the community and whatever, and a number of, particularly here in Provincetown, the entertainers of the 80s and 90s are all gone now. They all have passed.
And you're still here.
We're still here.
Yeah.
We went to a lot of funerals in those days.
But you give people a sense of continuity. I mean, that's what the purpose of the show is, that to show people, here are people who 28 years ago were there when we were struggling with AIDS, people were dying, and you were bringing joy to life, and you're still walking with us. You know, would you ever have imagined when you started out, when they weren't taking pictures of the boat slip, that you would see New York State pass gay marriage or the repeal of Don't Ask? I mean, isn't it, I mean, it's...
that was off the charts back then. I mean,
What
it wasn't
you-
even a thought process.
Yeah.
As far as we were concerned, it was just, this is it. This is the two of us, and we're going to be together for the rest of our lives. And fortunately, so far, so good.
Do you have anything donated in terms of materials? Do people donate clothes or flowers or anything to make your life a little
Well,
less
actually,
expensive?
like John Michael mentioned, Alpha Phi and DACA, and another friend of ours, good friend of ours, David Joseph, who was a designer in Boston and Waltham, did a lot of stuff for us over the years for the Vizcaya party down in Miami and various major parties in Boston. We had some fabulous gowns.
And are you allowed to
And-
keep those?
Yes.
Do you have to have a lot of storage space?
Well, we have actually a lot. We have like a second apartment.
Oh, you do?
We do.
Just for the clothes?
Just for the clothes. And
Like
pieces.
Imelda Marcos digging
Yeah.
through the shoes and things.
Yeah.
This has cost a lot of money.
It costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
We should have a big house down here.
Rather than a big house, you have a lot of dresses and a lot of smiles that you've given people because you've put your money into doing that.
Well,
That
yeah,
was a choice
That's
we made.
it's really, thank you for...
Well, thanks.
Was a
I mean,
choice.
really, this is not, you're not getting much out of it beyond the smiles, right? People
Oh,
aren't...
no. We don't accept
You don't get any,
finances.
no, nothing.
No, and
Occasionally a free drink or a free meal. But
Yeah. Well, you come by anytime, I'll give you a free meal. You know, you'll find some drink in the house, but I'm a good cook. And it won't be the Linguini sisters. Yeah, or the Linguisa sisters, the Hat sisters come to dinner. So, any rate, Tim, John Michael, thank you, the Hat sisters, for being who you are and loving each other so much and sharing that love with the community for all this time.
well, thank you.
you.
And we get it back tenfold.
Yeah.
It's really a lot of fun, and as we always said, when we stop getting a giggle out of it, then it stops.
Well, we got to stop, but on a giggle.
On a giggle.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Gotta have pride. Been around too long to keep it inside.